from CBS News, Russ Mitchell, Tracy Smith, and Ira Jo Fisher bring you The Early Show. Up next, navigating the net these days requires a growing list of passwords. How do you remember them all? We'll have some tips coming up. You're watching the Saturday Early Show on CBS.
If you were like the average computer user, you've probably got more than a dozen different passwords for your various online activities. And if you have a hard time remembering them all, you are not alone. According to AOL, the #1 question to tech support is about forgotten passwords. So, what are we to do? Regina Lewis, AOL's consumer advisor, is here to help. Regina, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You've got some great tips for us today. First of all, you say our passwords should be memorable but not guessable. Sounds very easy.
Yeah, well, that's a tricky balance. So, for instance, you want to be able to remember it, but the most memorable sometimes are the most guessable. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to have it connected to your login in any way. So if it's your address is Sam's mom, you don't want your password to be Sam. You don't want it to be your address. Very guessable. You don't, interestingly, want it to be any kind of saying, good morning, etc., the name of your computer. Those kinds of things, very guessable.
You also say combining letters and numbers, always a good idea.
Yeah, this is key because of something called dictionary servers that will, in a matter of seconds, crank out thousands of configurations. So if it's all letters, it's a numbers game. They're going to get that sooner or later.
You've got some examples for us of good passwords. Let me go to the first one here. TES at 59. Why is that a good one?
Want to guess? All right, so here...
I happen to know why, but why don't you
Here's
tell
why.
me?
This would be memorable for you and Tracy, and yet not guessable. It stands for, this is the early show at 59th Street.
Oh, I see.
See?
Okay, that makes sense. Let's go to the next one now. This one, I did not get. Tell me about this one.
Again, you want length, but you want to be able to remember it, and you want to be able to combine letters and numbers, and to some extent, symbols. So we took the first letter of a song lyric, Sometimes You Want to Go, where everybody knows your name.
Uh-huh, I see.
That'd work, right? Yeah. Who's going to guess that? It'd take a long time for the computer to generate that one.
Exactly, you're right about that. Let's go to the third one now. Is this one going to be, is as confusing as that one? Or what's
this is a
one?
different kind of strategy. This is the idea of using a generic phrase and then a symbol at the end. So this stands for generic password for auctions.
Okay.
So now I could use this again and again. Generic password for shopping, S.
I see. Do you recommend that people have passwords for their various online activities?
Here's what I recommend, because you mentioned that dozen figure at the top. That's too many. I like the rule of 3. So tier them. There are sites that you're just playing around on, no problem if somebody gets in on your behalf. There are ones where they could pose as you, your email, etc. The tier threshold a little bit higher. And then there are, of course, banking sites where that would really be a bummer. So if you sort of lump them into 3 categories and have 3 passwords, then you'll also be able to guess. You'll say, well, I know that this is a shopping site, so I use my high-end password for that, and you'll have 3.
You have some tips on how people can safely organize their multiple passwords. Let me go through these very quickly. They are consolidate, categorize, use a core word and a prefix or suffix, and hide if written down. Explain this for
well,
us.
that tracks back to all the examples we gave, but people ask me all the time, you hear the cardinal rule, don't write them down. Well, you know what? If you're going to have to call tech support, write them down somewhere, but don't put them on a yellow sticky on your computer. And some people say they will actually put the passwords in their address book under their name. No one would piece that together.
Some people store their passwords in a computer. I've always thought that's not a great idea. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, there are mixed opinions on that. Sometimes it's specific to the computer, so if you travel, that's not good. Plus, your computer could be hacked, and it's the key to the whole kingdom, right? So you're not just going to lose one password, you're going to lose them all. And you kind of finished where we started. You have to have the master password, so you have to remember that. But there are portable devices that are going to start to help. So directionally, I think we'll all get some help with this. And you'll see more and more redundancy.
Sure. And very quickly, how often should we change our passwords?
Some people say change it as you would change your clocks. I think if you work with these systems, you won't have to change as often, but if you are making any of the mistakes we talked about, I'd change them today.
Okay, Regina Lewis, as always, thanks a lot.
Sure.
We'll see you next time.